I was in Times Square for the fight or the event. And so I wanted to ask you, what went wrong, what went right with that event?
I mean, firstly, you can't really be sure ever what you're going to get. All
Hmm.
right, you can make a great fight, and the matchmaking can be good,
Hmm.
but really, a lot of it is down to luck. A lot of it is down to the fighter's performance on the night.
Hmm.
All kinds of different stuff. So, from an event perspective, like the build up, the anticipation, the sheer audacity of putting an event in the middle of Times Square, I thought it was incredible, and I thought for boxing, it was a huge profile for us, in the sport. On paper, I think everybody thought that was going to be a great night of boxing. If I'm honest, I mean, Barboza against Tio was a great competitive fight. Devin, with a chance to look good, could actually stop Ramirez. And
Hmm.
Ryan is vulnerable, but
Hmm.
yet he'll probably get hurt, but come through and knock Rolly out in devastating fashion
Yeah.
in a thriller. And then what you saw was a load of dross, really. I mean, just guys who, and I do think there's an element. I said in the build up to that fight was like there is definitely this behind closed door feel that fighters struggle to get up for, and but you still know going into the fight like that's what it's going to be like. You've got to overcome that, and you've got to be professional enough. But I think there's definitely the element of fighters that are or have been overpaid,
Hmm.
and once you start making money, do you really want to physically put yourself in the trenches when your lifestyle is now fantastic?
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what it is. And that's why, the great Marvin Hagler would always say it's very difficult to get up and do your hill sprints when you're wearing silk pajamas.
Yeah.
And that's why I admire guys like AJ and particularly Canelo Alvarez so much because they're still doing it. But even now, I start looking at Canelo thinking, do you really like it is? I just think it's impossible to have the same kind of warrior mindset
Yeah.
when you made a load of money and now you live in that 10-bedroom house and you got three Ferraris and you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
hold on. Whereas other guys that haven't had it, I mean, look, Connor Ben's a great example. Like that was yeah, he made a lot of money, but he's not been spoiled by that fact yet, and he hasn't really had any wars. And he's like, I want a fucking war.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want a war. Give me a war.
Yeah.
Whereas the other, like, I really don't want a war. Like, why would I have a war? No, thank you.
Yeah.
And I guess going back to Fisher and Allen, yeah, they're going tomorrow night. I am prepared
Hmm.
to go in the trenches and just scrap,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? How
Yeah.
many guys that have made it, had the titles, got the money, got the house, like, and I just that I don't think that's their fault, by the way. That's
Yeah.
just
It's
natural. I
human
mean, it's just
nature.
like a tough, tough, tough game. And when you've made it out of that environment that you needed to show that toughness, do you want to go back there? And how
Yeah.
many times do you want to go back there?
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I had an opportunity to talk to Ryan. Actually, it was funny. It was right before the Rolly fight. So it was like 2 or 3 days before the Times Square fight. And I asked him, I said, "You're one of the few people in boxing who has gotten to a place where you've attained like superstardom, but you've never won an actual world title. Do you think that it's necessary at this point?" And he said, no, he doesn't think that it's necessary. He said he think it would be nice, but it's not necessary. So as a promoter, if a fighter shares that level of that kind of perspective, how do you handle that or deal with that?
I have a problem with that as someone that loves boxing
Mhm.
and thinks that legacy and titles are are really important post career. Like everybody got into the sport for that reason. You never, when Ryan started fighting, he never thought, oh, I just want to make as much money as possible. Like I don't
Mhm.
care about the title. He thought, I want to be like Floyd or I want to be like Leonard. And I want that belt and and but careers kind of rear off. If you're built properly into a world championship position, you become world champion and then you just defend it in all the big fights.
Mm-hmm.
If you build a profile and then you end up taking a fight that, you know, maybe a fight you can't win, or like he did against Tank,
Mm-hmm.
he's got a massive profile, and then he ends up fighting Devin for a load of money throughout a world title. Then
Mm-hmm.
he fights Rody for a load of money throughout a world title. Now his next fight's not going to be for a world title. Then, you know, but then I look at guys like Shakur and
Mm-hmm.
particularly Boots
Mm-hmm.
and probably Bam as well. One, you know, another one of our big stars.
Yeah.
They are all about legacy. Don't get me wrong; they all want to make money,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they all make sure they get the max.
Yeah.
But they really care about accolades and championships and unifications, and that's why sometimes it's more difficult. You know, like Boots, we're in a position now with Teofimo Lopez, and the money's great. We
Mm-hmm.
think he smashes him, so does he. But it's like he'd almost rather take a quarter of the money to fight for another belt. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
And I
yeah.
love that. I love that. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah. I
Sometimes
do too.
it's a bit frustrating because you're thinking, well, actually, Boots, you smashed Tiafimo, let's just do it. And he's like, no, I will do it. I don't have a problem with it. But could we take, what about this one? What about this one? So I like that. But I don't blame Ryan for that, because really, Ryan's a million miles away from fighting for a world title at the moment, especially coming off the defeat. So,
Yeah.
you know, and he's also making a lot of money,
Yeah. Yeah.
where he's thinking, I'm good, really. I'm good. Like, and you'll probably see him disappear at some point. You
Mm-hmm.
know, go and do a bit of acting, or chill out in California somewhere and just enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like it is, from a boxing fan standpoint, it's a troubling take, because it's almost like if you're related to another sport, it's almost like you're looking at, you're watching Premier League or you're watching the NBA, and you hear somebody like Suarez or you hear somebody like Ronaldo say, well, at this point, I've made so much money, I really don't care if Barcelona wins. I don't care if
Yeah,
Real
yeah,
Madrid wins. I don't care. I'm doing this as long as I can if you keep setting up exhibition matches for me to play in, I'm good. The whole fan
yeah,
base is going to be like, well, then why am I watching?
yeah. I agree. Yeah, we
Yeah,
need to, the glory of the win and the glory of the achievement. Or that's, for me, that's the story.
it is. It
Do you know
is.
what I mean? And
Yes.
that's why I actually like the belts, and
Hmm.
I like the unifications, and I like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because I know that that's what fighters dream of when they start. All these kids we sign who are debutants, oh, I'll do anything to be world champion, anything, anything.
Yeah.
You know, you never, if I said to them, well, what about if you just made a load of money, but you never fought for a world title? They'd go, no, no, I
Yeah.
have to fight, and then, but he's probably also think sometimes the game, say, tarnishes them a little bit, but kind of takes their love away.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Sport. I
Yeah.
think Ryan's probably in that spot where he's like, "Fuck it, I've had so much shit. I don't even like boxing anymore." But obviously, it's great money. So what's next?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I
I
can. I
feel
can.
like Devin. See, Devin's there now, right? And Devin was never there.
Hmm.
Devin was all about belts, all about achievements. And then
Hmm.
I think the Ryan fight really disheartened him, the whole experience. And I
Yeah.
think now he just thinks, I couldn't care less about the belts. Like,
Yeah.
what's just let me make my money and then I'm done.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And then that's what makes you deteriorate as a fighter.
Hmm.